Hey everybody, today we're going to talk about this guy. Big shout out to Parabellum, thank you so much for sending me this. If you have no idea what I'm talking about here, I am holding up the 2-player starter set for Conquest First Blood. Now, the thing about Conquest is it's essentially one game engine broken into 2 systems. One is a full, massive rank and flank army game called Conquest: The Last Argument of Kings. The other is this, which is much more of a skirmish variant, probably somewhere around 30 models. They move individually instead of on rank and flank bases, and it's called First Blood. Recently, Parabellum has put out a 2nd edition of First Blood to really kind of dial in the rules quite a bit more, make list building a bit more easy, straightforward, quite frankly, and just give you a lot of access to their cool models if there's just 1 or 2 kits that you wanted to pick up. This starter set is meant for 2 players to jump into the game. It comes with 2 different factions, 2 printed version 2 rule books, and a whole bunch of stuff we'll unpack here in a second. So in this video, we're going to be reviewing the new 2-player starter set, as well as talk about my plans for Conquest, specifically First Blood, on the channel, because I am going to be doing a slow grow league thing here locally, and I would invite you to join me online. If you're interested in anything by Parabellum, you can actually save 10% on all of your purchases, no matter what's in your cart, by using the affiliate link in my description down below. It doesn't cost you anything. In fact, it saves you money, and it goes a long way to supporting me as a content creator. Because honestly, buying one $50 kit with that link saves you 10% and is about 5,000 views or clicks for me on YouTube, so it's a big deal. But regardless of that, let's go down to the downward cam. We'll talk about what comes in this set, who it's for. I'll give you my honest opinion on the value of it, as well as my plans for Conquest First Blood going forward. As you can see here, it doesn't even fit on my camera. It's because the box is so stinking huge. This is actually a great place to hold it though for just a split second while we talk about what comes in here. Now, you're going to notice 2 armies. These are actually the 2 most recent armies that Parabellum has created. On the left here, we have the Wadroon. This is sort of their orc variant. They are created by a 3rd faction that exists in the setting, but they broke loose for their own freedom. And their big shtick, as I talked about before, is orcs riding dinosaurs. They use animals and beasts and all kinds of things of the world to basically as beasts of burden, but also as war machines. So they are very, very cool. Now over here on the right, we have the Old Dominion, the newest faction to come out, their undead variant, which a lot of people were very anxiously waiting for. And in this kit, you get a set of legionaries, and we'll go through the different options here in a second. But essentially, you get a leader for each, and then 2 units of infantry. Okay, and that's the way it breaks down. Now understand, in First Blood, units are smaller. So when you take a regiment, let's say legionnaires, like these basic guys, you know, look like Roman soldiers for the undead side. Yeah, a normal unit of those would be 12 guys. In First Blood, it is actually just 4 is the basic, you know, smallest unit. Obviously, you can add more dudes. But what's cool about this is that all of the kits, barring the leaders themselves, are multi-kits. So you can actually... there's a lot more customization within this force than it might first seem. Inside here are 2 sprues that are both multi-kits, meaning you have an option of 4 different units to build your army for each side. That's super fun. I like how much versatility there is there. All the bits you need are included, things like banners, that kind of stuff, which is a sharp upgrade compared to the 2-player Conquest Last Argument of King starter, where you get units but you don't get the upgrade sprues for them basically, so they went a different route with that. And let's crack her open. I want to show you some of this plastic. Now, of course, like I said, it's going to be hard because this box is so tall, but one of the first things we see here, let me just pull this out of the plastic. Here are your command cards. Now, there's no trading card system or anything like that when it comes to Conquest. If you are not familiar with how the game functions, it does the same basic function for First Blood as well as the full army variant. Essentially, I'm just going to push this a little bit forward, hopefully without pushing any models off. Oh, there one goes. And so at the start of your turn, you look and see what units you have on the table. Let's say you have these 4. Okay, Predator's your leader, Hunters, Blooded, and Braves. So we have all these options. What you have to do at the start of the turn, you and your opponent at the same time, decide what order these are going to activate. So if I wanted to have the Hunters go first, I would put their card on the top of the deck. So that way, it's the first one I draw. You essentially plan the order of activations at the start of the round, and then when it's your turn, meaning you have alternate activations, I have a unit, you have a unit, I have a unit, so on. You flip the top card on your deck, it tells you and your opponent, this is the unit that's activating, and from here, that's when your normal activation happens. You can do stuff like moving, fighting, charging, running, all that kind of stuff. So very, very simple and straightforward, but I love the card system because it front loads all of your tactical thinking to the front of the round, essentially. And so it just makes things go really quick. When it's all decided for you, what activates? Then you just look at the board and be like, what do I need to accomplish with that unit? Boom, let's get it. We have all of their bases. Now keep in mind, they come with these square rank and flank ones, so that if you wanted to, you could use these units in Last Argument of Kings. So you're not losing any value by getting this box over another one. All these units will still be applicable to the larger game system. Here's more. This is going to be our Predator Sprue. Yeah, big. He has this monster crossbow. It's so cool looking. Let's see, those are all bases. Yeah, let's get into the plastic. So now let's get into the plastic that comes in this whole set. That's what we're here for, right? First one we have is this one here. This is going to be the Predator. Now, the last time I saw the Predator model, it was actually done in resin. So this is the first chance that I have seen to get your hands on it in full plastic. Now, Parabellum uses a very thick, strong plastic. It's sculpted with incredible detail. They really are quite awesome. That old adage that Games Workshop was the king of models, I think, that day is passing because other companies are able to enact incredible things. Now, next unit we have here is actually going to be making up a bunch of these sprues. There are a sum total of 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, that's not right. 7 sprues. Oh my gosh, I can count. This is why I'm a YouTuber, not an accountant, by the way. A whole bunch of sprues go into making up this one set of 2 possible kits. It's a multi-kit thing. You can do hunters, which are essentially like a light infantry that work with just about anyone. They're a great choice. Or slingers, which are also a light infantry, but rather than being like a spear thrower, they are slingers. So they have, like, try to see if I can get a good shot here. Right here at the bottom, you can see there's a hand, and he's got a sling with a rock in it. Now, the slingers have these really ornate headdresses, which is where the extra sprues come in for this kit, and they look terrific. They are, quite honestly, some of my favorite models, and that's because, specifically, their backpacks have these, like, feathers kind of built into them. You're going to see a lot of tribal kind of patterns, paintings, feathers, adornments, that kind of stuff, trophy racks when it comes to the Wadroon, and I like it. So there are some fantastic models in there. The next set is a multi-kit as well, and this one is going to be more of your heavy hitter infantry. Now, the Wadroon, they're all kind of made out of glass. Like, they like to hit hard, but they can't really take a punch very well in terms of their armor values and stuff. However, when they hit hard, they hit real stinking hard, and that is the role of both the Blooded and the Braves, which are the other 2 variants that come from these sets of sprues. And really, the big difference there's differences within their society of what they do, but think of it this way. One is a weapon and a shield to be a little bit more defensive. The other one is 2 weapons, who is pure offense. For my money, I like pure offense. I don't like having to straddle the ground, but that's just my opinion. Now, as I said before, each of these sets, right, so these 2 here, have enough bits to build 12 models each. You can build a full unit of slingers and hunters. You can build a full unit of blooded and braves, meaning 4 of each. And then with your remaining 4, right, because 4, 8, you have 4 more left before you hit 12, you can create either kit bash some unique heroes, or you can just have reinforcements. Just, you know, maybe make 1 or 2 of them braves, the other 2 blooded, and now you can up the size of the regiments. If I was you, honestly, I would just start by building 4 of each of these and your leader, see what you like, and then with the remaining, you know, bits and stuff, fill out units that you like. Why not? Of course, conversely, you could go 2 of one, 1 of the other, meaning 2 units of blooded at 4 dudes each, and then 1 unit of braves. There's a lot of ways to put these things together, but what I'm getting at is that each of these essentially represents up to 3 regiments or units and a hero. 3, 6, 7. Not a bad start to a little collection there. Now, moving over to the Old Dominion, certainly some of the most anticipated models of their collection. Their leader is called the Ziliarch, is how I'm going to choose to pronounce that. He's sort of like a low-grade, on-foot military hero, but he is brutal in combat. At least he can be if you give him the right upgrades. And he is also an impressive model, just this power stance as he's overlooking the battlefield. If you like undead armies, you will like him quite a bit, I believe. The next stack of sprues that we have belong to a pair of units that I think are very interesting and quite honestly iconic to the faction, and that's going to be the Carries and the Moroi. Now, why do I feel that way? Well, they ignore quite a few things because they are these kind of ghasts that are like, you know, they have like billowing smoke underneath them as they move, like shades almost. And so they ignore a lot of like terrain hindrance. They don't really run away because they're not alive to feel fear. Like, they have a lot of special rules, but learning these will make you a master of the entire faction. So I actually very much appreciate that they're in here because they're a difficult one to learn. Like, there's a lot of moving parts in the Old Dominion as an army, both in First Blood and The Last Argument of Kings, the different sized games. But starting with a unit of these guys, either one, doesn't matter. You should build both just to try them out, but gets you used to the universal special rules for the faction, and they ignore a lot of things simply because they're not dead and they don't get scared. So there's some cool stuff there. Now, they actually act somewhat like light scout style units. One of them is all melee. One of them can like hurl bolts of lightning or something. I mean, they just throw things. A light melee version and a light ranged version, but really they exist to gum up the works and die because the Old Dominion gives you points every time one of your units dies. It releases death energy, and your characters like your Zilliarch or others can use that in real game benefits. And lastly, we have another fantastic kit. If you have any interest in Byzantine or Roman armor or anything like that, the Legionnaire and Praetor kit, or sorry, Praetorian Guard kit, is gonna be really cool for you. They just have such cool looking models, y'all. They just really do. What's great about this one though is on the side in the box they give you, like I said, the standard bearer, so you're not going to be out any kind of leadership options or optional builds rather. And this is another kit where, you know, one of them is a basic infantry. Legionnaires are of course basic. Praetorian Guard are your more elite, and both of them receive benefits the more of these other guys die. And so, like, I mean, they receive benefits when anyone dies, but these are the ones you want getting the benefits, is essentially what I'm trying to say. And they make for some really cool models as well. Next up in the box, we have a whole bunch of material. So we have obviously our instructions all printed out for how to build things, so that's nice and handy. We also have, what are you? This is essentially an introduction to the different warbands, okay? So here's an interesting little thing they throw in here. The first one is they introduce you to color competitions. They have a phenomenal Discord over on Parabellum, as well as, it's not really listed here, but they also have all of their lore online and like in this really cool setup that I'll talk about later. In this booklet, there are different options for a few different ideas for various factions and ways to grow. There's one for the Old Dominion, which is just, here's a few army ideas of what it can be. Old Dominion Starter Force, which is literally the starter set for the faction, and what we have here. And then there's other ways to expand, and basically it's a nice little roadmap to like, here's some kits you can build. If you buy one or two kits, you can have a totally different army, like in the Scholar of the Profane kind of deal. So I like it. It's a roadmap for how to expand. So if nothing else, that's really cool. They do the same thing for the Wadroon. You can see a few of their really excellent looking heroes. Here's our set that we have, the Predator and Hunter's Blades, that kind of thing. There's a Matriarch Queen, and then this one is a Scion, basically a priest of their tribe. And the last thing I wanted to show on is this. Now, you do get 2 copies of this book. This is the Conquest First Blood Starter. It is literally a fully printed rule book. It has everything regarding how your units move, charge, fight, everything. If you go towards the back, it has missions for you, as well as universal special rules and things like that. I'm gonna highlight one of those missions here. The reason I wanted to point this out is because a lot of these 2-player starter sets, for whatever reason, come with one book. And it's like the whole point is to get 2 people into the game. And so having all the cards and resources you need for 2 people is a nice touch. Now, before I talk about my plans for First Blood, I want to talk about this actual set. Now, this set retails for $164 in the US. Of course, you can get 10% off if you use the link in the description below. Hey, but let's talk about the value of it, honestly. As far as two-player starter boxes go, comparing it to things like Dominion from Games Workshop, some of the starter sets they've had for War Machine and Hordes, the reason I like this is because, first of all, there's 2 rulebooks in there, which you would think would be an obvious thing for a 2-player starter set, but whatever. So 2 rulebooks, that's an immediate win for me. The other thing to me is when you're looking at this, like, it introduces you to the rules of the game and then gives you a pathway to expand. Those little booklets that I showed with, you know, just a couple alternate model builds and stuff like that, that's huge. I mean, it represents, like, if you have an extra $50 in a couple months, buy 1 kit, you have a whole new army. And that's just cool. Whereas when I look at games like Age of Sigmar, you'll get a starter set and then you have to spend $200 to $300 more to do any kind of thing bigger than that. Now, I will say up front, if you don't have an interest in the Wadroon or the Old Dominion, don't buy this box. Like, I can't emphasize that enough for you. So much of the value is wrapped up in these models. They are fantastic miniatures. They look great. But if you're interested in a different faction, they have faction starters for First Blood for all of them, and I'd recommend you go starting whatever army you want. That's kind of an odd thing that I get questioned a lot, is people asked, you know, is this 2-player starter set? And honestly, it doesn't matter for which game it is it worth it? It's like, well, it's worth it if you want it. It's not if you want anything else. What I think is worth stating, though, is that if you wanted to play Wadroon or the Old Dominion in First Blood or the full army, you know, Last Argument of Kings variant, you will use every single unit in this set. Like, for both sides. The Wadroon will use all of those things, maybe in different quantities depending on who your leader is and how you want to build the force, of course. But the Old Dominion, they'll use every single one of them. They actually don't have a ton of kits. They have a bunch of models in their faction, but they're getting released over time. So, like, if you want to play Old Dominion for the next foreseeable, like, year or two, you will use every single model that you get in this box. And regardless, there are ways to make them, you know, basic infantry options across every single kit. So if nothing else, if you really can't find a use for, say, like Braves or something, you can always build them to be whatever the lowest, cheapest variant, you know, common soldier variant, and then just use that to fill out the base of your list, and then throw in a whole bunch of cool things like giant dinosaurs or undead living mausoleums for the Old Dominion. So, like, the value of the units you get, I think, is spot on. It's just only if you like these armies and want to play them. One thing I don't think is talked about enough is demos, though. If you are someone who wants to get Conquest popular in your area, buying this and just painting these forces is a phenomenal way to teach people the game, because you could have a demo day where you have a rule book on each side, or maybe because you know the rules, you'll leave another one out for people passing by. You can have the promo material for how easy it is to expand into different armies, and just give a demo that way. The only thing it doesn't come with that you need are, like, tape measure and dice. But build them up, paint them, and then have some demos with them. These are great forces for that. Low-grade heroes that are, you know, there's not a ton of customization to them in terms of, like, their war gear outfits. And then you have a swath of units that are everything from, you know, a more elite melee to a light melee to a light skirmish unit, that kind of stuff. They both have comparable styles of thing. I think the 165 price point is awesome if you and a buddy both want to get into it, because that means roughly, I mean, there's a million ways to get discounts. Obviously my code is one of them, but let's say you're roughly paying $150 after it's all said and done. That's like $75 a person. You get a rule book, a starting faction, and everything you need besides, like, the actual supplies for gaming, dice, tape measure, that kind of stuff. Like, I think that's a good deal. Again, it's not a good deal if you don't like the army. I don't know how to say that enough, but it's a great deal if you were already looking to get into them anyway and you just wanted kind of a nudge. But let's talk about my plans for Conquest. Now, on the channel, I've decided I'm going to do a slow grow league for First Blood, meaning an average game of First Blood is, I think, 800 points if I'm not mistaken. But what about me and my plans? Well, you see, Conquest First Blood, their size of games is roughly 800 points in relative terms. They have free army builders up on the Parabellum website if you'd like to play around with those and build and construct your list. I highly encourage it. What I want to do on my channel is a slow grow league of building and painting up to 800 points, maybe a few extras for options and that kind of thing. But I am not actually going to build either of these. I don't have a personal interest in Wadroon or the Old Dominion, so I will be doing a raffle and giveaway on my channel for the respective halves of this box. Instead, I'm going to do 100 Kingdoms and Dweghome. No particular reason other than I want to do the slow grow thing, but these just aren't factions that interest me too much. And so I want to expand what I do have an interest in. I got the 100 Kingdoms specifically for First Blood because I wanted to spend a lot of time doing cool knightly order things all over their shields and armor and stuff. And then my Dweghome is my main faction that I do actually play, and I like them quite a bit. For me, I actually got my hands on the 100 Kingdoms half of the 2-player starter set, so that's where I'm beginning my build journey when it comes to this, but I'll have a dedicated video to the Slow Grow League later on, as well as the giveaway. But friends, that is my chat about the new First Blood 2-player starter set. It is a brand new game system, sort of, like it's a new addition, but the game engine has been in development for many, many years, and it is fantastic. It has a ton of play testers, they have a great community. If you're interested in more Conquest content, that's very hard to say for me, let me know what you'd like to see in the description below. Be specific, because I need help coming up with video ideas regarding if you guys want tutorials, if you want, you know, demonstrations of build or design, chats about the different factions, just let me know. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and I'll catch you in my next Conquest video. Happy wargaming.